entire replay and never looked at the time. Anyway, here we are with round 2 of our Newcomers Tournament. Right away we see this nice little carbon patch. It's on ice, has good silicon right there, good aluminum.
Ooh, and there's another
Another one
patch,
down
just
there, yeah.
not without silicon.
Other than that, iron looks kind of scattered. It's not, there's not any good iron that I'd really want to work
There's
with.
one a little bit closer together right next to a
Yeah, it's definitely workable, it's just not great. So yeah, definitely expect to see 2 scavengers drop first. Both grabbing the good carbon and some... Oh!
Oh, there's a third one!
This is going to be interesting. I don't know how many of these tiles are still protected. Maybe...
So we got... Yeah, so there's 3 scavengers and 1 scientific.
Okay. That's always interesting when 2 people drop so close to each other. It looks like Steamfist is going to be just fine. If he can just grab this one more medium, he'll have more than enough carbon for the entire game.
Yep.
Well, he can probably get along just fine without the 3rd carbon too. Especially since Dr. Yang's going to a 3rd carbon. That's, again, I think we talked last time, this is going to be too much carbon. I guess in the very short term, it gets him a fair bit of money, but there's no good way for him to transition into actual production from here.
Oh, and the first nuke was already launched on Carl's carbon.
Carl still
down to low.
Carl still has a claim left, and he hasn't taken the silicon yet, which is a bit awkward. So he is moving into 2 glass, which is amazing. Glass started doubled, and everyone's going to be using glass. So if he could really get control of that high silicon, he'd be in a great position. But he's just holding on to this claim.
Meanwhile,
I guess
he's actually in a delay.
His carbon did get nuked. I guess maybe he was worried about that to some extent. Just trying to make sure he could goon that or something. No, he's going for a 3rd carbon. Mama B with the separated steel. That's never really a move I like to see.
Usually I see those moves in the opposite direction when it comes to life support.
Yeah, honestly I think having life support separate is just better most of the time. Steel is so important. You want the steel quickly. Life support, there are some benefits to shipping it in. You know, you don't have to subtract the life support cost before getting the money. Things like that, but the steel, if that gets blown up, then you're just slowed down tremendously for each, like...
Yeah, there are magnetic storms, so that could very much hurt.
To be fair, I guess steel started half price, so there's no real rush for people to blow up that steel.
The scavenger HQ has been upgraded.
So we see Carl ended up not getting the high silicon. He's gonna have to settle for medium, which will be okay.
Oh, and he cancelled it.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Silicon's gonna keep rising. He's still making glass.
And another nuke just landed.
Wow.
Dr. Yang's carbon again.
Lots and lots of carbon nukes. I'm not sure I like the carbon nukes at all. I mean, right now we have 3 scavengers, and they're all producing various amounts of enough carbon. So if you just keep nuking carbon out, you're not really going to gain much of an advantage off of that, and you might actually end up needing to put more claims into carbon yourself just to stay afloat later. If you just leave all the carbon alone, then you're pretty much in the same position, just with more claims.
One of the main damages you can do is by attacking the water. But then again, there is ice.
Yeah, I think for the 2 players up north, I'd probably just rather see them move into ice and ignore water altogether. Because you don't want to mess with nukes with these medium waters and...
Yeah, I would say silicon is more valuable to hit with nukes than anything else at this point.
Yeah. I'm actually a bit surprised there are no goons or nukes on this silicon. I'm also surprised that Steamfist never actually put a quarry down on the silicon. Not sure what he's...
And he's not making any glass with it.
He has one kiln, which is losing money because it's by itself. It's also a bit concerning. He's moving into one farm, which, again, this isn't taking advantage of
One each
adjacency.
is not efficient.
Mm-hmm.
You're just making enough to at least stay alive without paying much life support or the cost or anything else really.
I mean, that would be the case, except neither building's actually running. Just auto supply doesn't have the cash to work with. You could easily sell down some aluminum or glass or something and make it work, but it's all just a very awkward position. He's going to be stuck at 2 for a bit. Meanwhile, we have
Could
Carl up at
sell
4 and
some
Yang at
aluminum.
3.
Looks like he's trying to get that 3rd level upgrade.
Yeah, it's just that keeping these things not running isn't doing him any favors. Let's see, food coming down here, makes perfect sense.
Yeah, Dr. Yang seems to be producing quite enough life support. And it gets EMP'd on the food.
I think one nice thing we've seen out of Yang this game is just Dr. Yang is moving out of all this carbon. Like, carbon's still pretty low. He's still producing a bit of carbon, but like, your opponents are pretty much stuck with all the quarries since those are separated, so you can sort of benefit from that. Get a bit more production down yourself, and have no problems.
Let's see how much this will go for.
Should be pretty valuable. 3 scavengers and a scientist. And power is pretty much dead.
Ooh, then you get 124 on the pleasure dome.
Congratulations.
That definitely could have gone higher, but that's probably fine. Steamfist doesn't really get much benefit out of that for quite some time. He'll need to find a way to... Well, actually, he has claims left, so he can put down a pleasure dome. It'll just be a bit expensive.
He'll give about 200. It's going to take a while for that to actually turn into profit once he constructs it.
Right.
Meanwhile, Dr. Yang is in a patent lab, and down at Carl is about to build his.
The patent lab is sitting inactive, though, and now it's going for financial instruments. That doesn't seem like the best starting choice. I mean, everyone's not in very much debt at all. Power and life support are pretty stable, so debt isn't going to rise significantly anytime soon. And chems are pretty expensive, so this is going to be a very long-term payoff. Maybe not the right choice right away.
Financial instruments is not useful at all. Oh, and both their patents exploded.
Also, the single farm next to that patent lab is a bit sad.
Yeah, it's actually auto-turned off.
Electronics going down there.
I guess that's one of the great things about auto-turn-off.
Scientific HQ has been
Tells
upgraded.
you, hey, I'm not making money anymore.
Yeah, it's I don't know, there are people that have been talking about turning it off because it's a bit of a hassle in trying to manipulate resources. I just see it as a pure positive, really. Because anytime you're manipulating, you can just manually shut that down, and other times it's saving you from possible errors.
Exactly, and it helps you out quickly to transition to other markets.
HQ has been upgraded.
So our electronics colony is starting to... Well, no. It's interesting that electronics actually went down a tick. Now it's rising again, okay. Carl's the only one in electronics trying to take advantage of that. It's maybe not the best option. Chems are better in the moment, but it's...
Still extra coins. They're fairly cheap enough.
Lots of EMPs flying everywhere.
The water is more valuable.
Yep. Been some good freezes on this water. Normally you don't see freezes on like these pumps, but that was definitely the right call there. And the freeze on the condenser is also nice. The unfortunate thing about all this is that, even though water's really spiking, life sport's not really doing much. Because we have the scientist, and it also means the scientist doesn't get to benefit as much from high water prices.
Unless he transitions out of it.
I guess so, but he has nothing great to transition to. No, I guess he could have some chems instead of some of these farms.
Maybe that's why he's going with this patent lab to get carbon scrubbing then.
Carbon scrubbing would be a good call. This carbon will be spiking all over the place as these players upgrade and try to get off-worlds in. And also electronics are going to be produced a lot. Chems probably a lot, so... he's going for teleportation instead, though.
The black market is open for business.
I guess for his steel and his glass that makes some sense.
Especially his steel.
Mm-hmm. More nukes flying on this water.
Meanwhile, Carl is making great money on chemicals and electronics.
Yep, good money.
Yep, and Doctor is also in chemicals, but he's not auto-selling it.
And we see Steam Fist with the auto turn off not on, and he's burning money in his reactor and farms. Or he was before they stopped auto supplying.
Water is still high.
Yep.
Oh, there we go. Momo's actually finally going carbon scrubbing.
Definitely a good call there.
Will he get it though? Because Carl's also getting it. Let me check.
He's actually going for thinking machines before that, so... if there's no black market intervention, it's not gonna get that.
Yep. He's not going to get that carbon scrubbing.
There's something odd going on at Dr. Yang's base. Well, it was something odd. He had one reactor auto off and the other one manually turned on. Just a little strange. Either way, Mama B sitting on a lot of cash, but probably not gonna use it aggressively, I don't think.
New building is available for option.
Yeah, just gonna take the upgrade. And that's one thing we do see a lot out of newer players, I think. Mama B has still 13k extra cash, a bunch of extra resources. He's just not upgrading right when he could. I mean, obviously you don't want to scrape in there with $0 because you want to be able to put down buildings, but when you're sitting on like 10, 20k of extra cash, then that's just not doing anything for you. I think one thing as Zoltar's used to say a lot, and that really stuck with me, was money is the worst resource in the game. Like, cash just doesn't do anything.
Pretty much.
So Dr. Yang got his water pretty heavily nuked out. And now he's moving into... he moved into another medium water that's also not gooned. It all strikes me as pretty unnecessary, and
and he bought a meal for it as well.
yeah. I mean, he could have just transitioned these pump triangle into ice, and that would have covered most of his water needs. And he's on plenty of ice too, so this is just an extra claim.
Usually 3 solar condensers does the trick.
Yeah, and if not, he also has this optimization center down. You could always do stuff to help there. Dr. Yang trying to buy Steam Fist, Carl trying to stab him in the back. Dr. Yang doing what he needs to do, selling out and defending himself. And I always like making the move that Carl's making. If you can stop someone from actually getting this buyout done, then you're slowing them down so much.
Moma here sitting with the most money.
Yeah, he has been making a lot on glass.
Off-world prices are okay.
And food, I guess. Yeah, there's nothing great off-world, but they're fine. And life sport's staying pretty stable, so they're probably gonna stay
The engineers have
fine for a while. And no one's making a move into them quite yet.
Yeah. Let's see.
MoMA did pick up the thinking machines. Does have this goon in stock.
it's too late.
And yeah, there's an
Oh,
off-world
Yeah,
constructing.
awful.
Yep.
I guess that's what Dr. Yang started seeing, so he's immediately started to purchase MoMA.
Which is an interesting idea, but this is gonna take somewhere over 300k to finish the buy. Dr. Yang has 40k on hand, and off-world prices aren't looking great, so he might have some trouble here. Picking a fight you can't really finish.
Oxygen is 37k.
We caught a dirty rat
Yeah.
trying to break our
Oh,
stuff.
and the first moon's already landed.
Huh, dynamite landed on the patent lab.
Cat lab.
The black market is
Maybe he just didn't catch this off-world. It is a bit awkward. Like, if you're just tapping over, I think the name display might obscure that spot a bit. But now that it's constructed, everyone should see it. Also, need to be starting this launch.
I like how everyone using Bribe to Claim. It's finally seems to be paying off. 30k.
So yeah, right now we only have one player in off-worlds. That's really the only player who really has a path forward to finishing the game. Definitely curious to see what everyone else is going to try to do. I guess they're going to try to pile into the guy with the off-world. Or the person with the off-world. Don't know how that's...
Steam is also now in D-debt.
Yep.
MoMA is starting to get there slowly.
We're not surprised. Optimization center is ready. Time to start improving everything.
A bit light to go in that patent lab for Steam.
Off-world shipment launched.
Yeah, and there's not much left for him. Cold Fusion is what he's going for. That's not gonna get much done. This water's been awkward all game. It's gonna probably stay awkward. Maybe not the best decision there.
Well, looks like everyone has a high amount of cash now.
And that EMP landing right on this off-world, but 20 seconds. Think Machine Scientist is just so resistant to freezes.
Oh yeah.
The only tool these players really have are these dynamites. Well, they should probably just keep hammering the dynamites, even though repairs aren't going to be all that expensive.
At least delay the person.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Meanwhile, MoMA is building for his second off-world.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Oh,
it's a great
He's finally
idea.
heading for an off-world as well. With
Yeah.
no goon, I believe. Yeah, no goon on it. That could be very serious.
The black market
50k goon, so it's understandable why he doesn't have a goon on it, but yeah, that's very vulnerable, and you have this opponent that you've been bouncing dynamites off of. And
believe who we caught
That could be very risky though.
yeah, the off-world is probably a necessary play, it's just dangerous.
alternative. What a payout.
Normally, I would be upset about MoMA placing these off-worlds adjacent to each other, but Scientist, so
And with the thinking machines, so.
The black market is online.
Oh, and the first. Oh, and they blew up both of his off-worlds.
oh, picked up the 50k goon squad for that. I don't know about that one. because he has thinking machines, because MoMA has thinking machines, that 50k on the Goon just doesn't quite seem necessary. I'd probably rather see him, MoMA, throw the dynamite that in stock and just buy another one.
Well, I'd like to see Momas also change that windmill to
The aluminum, yeah.
Yep.
That's
get
been...
the iron steel mills to actually metal mines.
Yeah, metal mines would be better. I mean, steel, I think steel is fine in a lot of ways, just because if your off-worlds keep getting blown up, then you have the steel in reserve, but yeah, iron would be making more money.
Meanwhile, glass is no longer really making cash, so
Yeah,
you should be switching to more of
more electronics or just, I don't know, there's no great transition, I guess. This carbon's up there, and I think one thing we can talk about is this is a pretty good opportunity for MoMA to be using the hacker array. This is the only steel user in the game. This has pretty complete control over iron and steel, so you can just hack those with impunity.
Yeah, and when no one looks like they want to move in or there since they can't. Meanwhile, Carl has finished his second off-world.
Right. His first one's frozen for quite some time, but that's really the extent of the black market that's landed on his off-worlds, which has let him really take the lead in this game, I think. Something, I'm not sure what happened to all of MoMA's cash. I mean, part of it was spending on this 50k goon, but with the off-worlds going, if somehow he fell behind Carl.
Oh, and it looks like once again MoMA's off-world just gets blown up.
Yep. Just 20k on the repair, so that's not...
Yeah, MoMA's... Yep, I was about to say, yeah, MoMA still has that TNT. Instead, he hits the one that's frozen. It would have been nice to hit the one that isn't.
It would have, but it doesn't make a huge difference. I guess hitting the non-frozen one slows Carl down more in the moment, which is probably more
Dr.
important.
Yang has finally built an off-world. Let's try to slowly catch up to the competition. He's not auto-selling. Oh, I know, that's MoMA. MoMA's not auto-selling.
Yeah. Somehow I completely missed on the stock buys into Dr. Yang. But still just not in a good position here. If Carl can pull off this buy before MoMA could finish off Dr. Yang, then that's pretty much it. Though Dr. Yang seems to be going for Steam Fist. Steam Fist is very cheap, so if someone picks him up, that's a really big stock price boost, and there's this off-world, so it's decent income.
Yep.
If Carl's going to be the one to pick up Steam Fist, then it's hard to see anyone coming back from that.
And it seems Steam Fist is actually auto-paying his debt.
Yeah, that's... I mean... It's never really great to auto-pay debt, but if you're in a position where you're pretty much all bought up, you can't really do anything, it's one way of trying to hang on as long as possible, even though it kind of makes sure you have no chance at winning.
Well, Mr. Fist seems to be bought by Carl.
Yep.
Boosted the stock tremendously, and has all his shares.
All his shares, has some in MoMA. So, even if MoMA gets the buy off in Dr. Yang, then he's still at this stock disadvantage. Carl will have had all that time to build up cash. It's hard to see a comeback, unless they mutually sell out and they start attacking Carl together.
It's rare, but it happens.
It happens. But sometimes, I mean, it's hard to really make that decision. If you start selling out yourself, your opponent might not reciprocate, then you're just kind of in a really weird position.
Alright, making 800 from the subsidiary. Decent.
Yep, very solid for how little was paid. In the meanwhile,
Meanwhile, Dr. Yang keeps on hitting Moma.
For business.
yeah,
I would consider Carl the biggest threat at this point.
I think they're just too tied up in the idea of fighting each other to
hmm
pivot.
The fact that they're both not realizing that Carl's now the biggest threat is really pushing them back.
Yeah. At some point, Dynamite got pushed up to 110, Goon Squads got pushed up to 110. It's just all just a bit
Make room for the profits.
much, I think.
You know, it seems more like the EMP can only be used one more time before it's not worth.
I mean, even the 70k EMP seems too expensive. I mean, it's 1.5 launches. I guess it kind of covers its costs, but you're slowing down one of your opponents, your other opponent's not getting slowed down, and yours, I mean, you're breaking even at best, so
Mm-hmm.
when you're spending that much, it's pretty much, well, we both lose, even though sometimes it's necessary to survive a little longer.
Yep, and Carl has the money to
Yep. You can almost buy whoever.
almost buy Moma. Actually, never mind. You can just buy anyone except Dr.
Okay.
Yang.
Launch affirmative. What a payout. The engineers have advanced our production.
So that was an interesting one. It looked like MoMA had a large lead, having these two off-worlds up, no one else having off-worlds up, having the thinking machines.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the concentrated black market.
Definitely should have built the second off-world on that patent lab there where it was, because it's just sitting there now with the.
I mean, yeah, that would have helped. It would have given more adjacency to the production claim. It's not a huge deal, I guess. I mean, this used to be an optimization center, which was doing fine. Normally, a bigger reason not to put them adjacent would be to avoid EMPs or slowdown strikes, but
Definitely. One of the bad things that Momo did in the end was stop auto-selling his life support.
hmm.
Meanwhile, Carl has gone full water. A bit much.
Launch affirmative. What a payout. Get all
Well,
the money.
yeah.
The black market is online.
But, I mean, there's nothing great. These are... The condensers are a building that's never going to lose money, so it's, I guess, in a way, a safe move.
Oh. Iron and oxygen are the last two great markets. Everything else seems to be crashed.
Right. And minor mistakes here with people continuing to launch oxygen instead of food, but that's always very difficult to keep track of.
And someone bought 110 TNT.
Oh, yeah, the 110k goon and dynamite. Again, just can't agree with those plays.
Successful off-world shipment. Make room for the profits.
Well, there we go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Made the aggressive move into off-worlds after MoMA was the first one in. He didn't really get punished enough for them, so he's allowed to really come back. And MoMA and Dr. Yang got into this protracted fight that let Carl kind of just run away with things.
Sad to see Dr. Yang make it far enough, but wasn't able to still catch up. He had the same far lead with life support. And had that patent lab from the beginning not used for quite some time.
Yeah. Dr. Yang is definitely set up well. Just got nuked out a lot. He got frozen a lot. It made things difficult for him. And he didn't quite play around the nukes and stuff as well as he could have. So that was pretty much what ended up with him behind MoMA and vulnerable to being the one getting attacked.